There comes a moment in life when something inside you begins to change. Not loudly, not in a way others can see, but quietly, deeply, undeniably. You still wake up at the same time. You still go through your daily routines. You still speak to the same people, and yet, beneath all of that, something no longer feels the same. It is not that your life is falling apart. It is not that everything is wrong. It is simply that something feels incomplete. A subtle emptiness begins to appear. And then one day, a question rises within you. Why am I here? At first, you try to ignore it. You distract yourself. You stay busy. You tell yourself that this question is unnecessary. But it does not go away, because this question is not coming from your thoughts. It is coming from something deeper. In the teachings of Buddhism, this moment is not seen as confusion. It is seen as the beginning of awareness, and awareness is where transformation begins. Most people, when faced with this question, begin to search outside themselves. They look for answers in careers, in achievements, in recognition. They believe that purpose is something that exists somewhere out there, waiting to be found. So they chase. They try different paths. They follow what others say is meaningful. They pursue what seems successful. But no matter how far they go, something still feels missing. Because the truth is simple, yet often misunderstood. Purpose is not something you find. It is something that reveals itself when you begin to understand who you are. And understanding does not come from rushing toward answers. It comes from asking the right questions, not questions that demand immediate answers, but questions that slowly open your awareness, questions that change the way you see your life. The first question is this: what makes you feel truly alive? Not what impresses others, not what brings status, not what seems practical, but what makes you feel awake. There are moments in your life when you feel completely present, moments when time seems to disappear, moments when your mind becomes quiet and you are simply there. It could be something simple, creating something with your hands, helping another person without expecting anything in return, learning something that genuinely interests you, being in nature, away from noise and distraction. These moments are not random. They are signals. They are glimpses of alignment between your inner world and your actions. But many people ignore these signals because they do not seem logical, do not seem profitable, they do not seem realistic. So instead, people choose what is safe, what is expected, and over time, they begin to lose connection with what makes them feel alive. Life becomes routine, predictable, mechanical, but your sense of aliveness is not something to ignore. It is a guide, a quiet compass pointing towards something meaningful. The second question goes deeper. What kind of suffering are you willing to accept? This question may feel uncomfortable because we are taught to avoid pain, to seek comfort, to eliminate difficulty. But the truth is, every path in life comes with its own form of struggle. If you choose to create something meaningful, you will face failure. If you choose to love deeply, you will experience vulnerability. If you choose to grow, you will face discomfort. There is no path without pain. But there is a difference between suffering that drains you and suffering that strengthens you. Meaningless suffering leaves you empty. Meaningful suffering gives you direction. Think about it. What challenges are you willing to face? Not because they are easy, but because they matter to you. Because often, your purpose is hidden within the struggles you are willing to endure. The third question expands your awareness beyond yourself. Where can you reduce suffering? In Buddhism, one of the most fundamental observations is this: life includes suffering, not as a punishment, but as a natural part of existence. Everywhere you look, people are struggling in ways you cannot always see. Someone feels alone. Someone is overwhelmed. Someone is silently carrying pain. Now ask yourself, where do you fit into this reality? Not in a grand, world-changing way, but in a simple, immediate way. Who is in front of you right now? What are they going through? And what can you offer? Sometimes, purpose is not found in extraordinary achievements. It is found in small acts of compassion, listening when someone needs to be heard, helping when someone feels lost, being present when someone feels invisible. These moments may seem small, but they carry deep meaning. Because purpose is not only about what fulfills you, it is also about how you contribute to the world around you. The fourth question invites you to look beyond identity. Who are you without your labels? Without your job? Without your status? Without your achievements? Who are you? This question is not easy, because identity gives you a sense of stability. It tells you who you are. It defines your place in the world. But identity is not fixed. It changes it. Depends on conditions, and when those conditions change, your sense of self can feel uncertain. In Buddhist understanding, the self is not something permanent. It is something that is constantly evolving, a process, not a fixed entity. When you begin to see this, you begin to loosen your attachment to labels, and in that space, something interesting happens. You begin to experience freedom. Freedom from needing to prove yourself. Freedom from needing to fit into a fixed role. Freedom to simply observe and understand. And from that understanding, clarity begins to emerge. The fifth question brings you face to face with one of the most powerful forces in your life. What would you do if you were not afraid? Fear shapes more of your life than you realize. It tells you, stay safe, avoid risk, do not change. It whispers, what if you fail? What if you are judged? What if you are not enough? And so, you hesitate, you delay, you settle. Beneath your fear, there is another voice, a quieter one, a more honest one. And this question helps. You hear it? If fear were not holding you back, what would you choose? Not what would be easy, but what would be true, because often, the life you are meant to live is not hidden from you. It is simply hidden behind fear. Many people spend their entire lives without ever answering these questions. Not because they cannot, but because they do not allow themselves to look. They distract themselves. They follow expectations. They stay busy. Because looking inward requires courage. It requires honesty. It requires letting go of illusions. But without this process, life remains unclear, directionless, and deeply unsatisfying. These 5 questions are not meant to be answered in a single moment. They are not a checklist. They are not a formula. They are something you live with, something you return to again and again. Over time, they begin to shape the way you think, the way you act, the way you see the world. And slowly, without forcing, your life begins to change. Not suddenly, but naturally. You begin to notice what matters. You begin to let go of what does not. You begin to act with more awareness, more intention, more clarity. And one day, you may realize something unexpected. You are no longer searching for purpose, because you are living it, not as a fixed destination, but as a continuous way of being. Your life will not change the moment you find a perfect answer. It will change the moment you become honest with yourself, when you stop pretending, when you stop following what does not feel true, when you start listening deeply. These questions are not here to give you certainty. They are here to give you clarity. And clarity is enough. Because when you see clearly, you no longer need to search blindly. You simply begin to walk, and in that walking, your path reveals itself step by step, moment by moment.